What made you want to just transition into training people and helping people? And obviously we understand why you're at the data space. What made you want to do that?
Yeah, I think two main things drove that. Is one, my favorite part of being in the roles that I had before was doing workshops. I loved getting up, presenting, and then helping people through labs. Like, I really liked the interaction, and I also felt like it was a better use of my skill set. Like, to be honest, I don't love being kind of like in the weeds doing very like low level things. I like kind of higher level, sharing concepts, helping people learn things, and then learn how to use it and apply it. And so I had the opportunity to do that in my role, and I liked it. And then I was kind of looking for a change. You know, it was with the TS or then CSA role was my first job out of school, and I kind of fell into it. And I thought I want to kind of direct my own path a little bit more. And so, you know, I have this skill set now in data. I like teaching workshops. And if I'm being completely honest, and I don't hide this when I share my experiences either, I felt like I had this label on my head, which was, you're a new graduate. I mean, people still think I am today, which I guess is a compliment, but I still feel like that's like a challenge being in tech and looking like you're, you know, 25 years old. Coming into meetings. And so I was like, I think even internally too, and it's not that, you know, anything super bad happened. I just felt like people, you know, it was hard to gain credibility because you're so young, and I clearly didn't have the experience of my colleagues. And, you know, I think there's something to be said for that. In the technical sales world, having experience does matter a bit. You can learn, but it is very hard to kind of you're an advisor and you're giving recommendations. So as like a 23-year-old, when I first took the role, like that's really tough to just walk into that role and be a trusted advisor when you have no background in that field. So building that, I thought, you know what, let me try something different. I love teaching. I can talk literally all day and they're just going to pay me to talk. Like, that sounds like a pretty good gig. I think I heard about the role from a friend of mine that I'd met through the Aspire program, Mary Jo. So shout out to her. And I remember, you know, talking to her about it. She was like, oh, I'm in Sweden right now, like traveling. Like, that's so cool. And you get to travel and see the world, which probably would have been the rural US for me because I don't live in Europe. But still, I thought the idea of traveling would be really cool for a bit. But then unfortunately, as you know, I took the role and the pandemic hit. So all of it, yeah, I know. All the dreams of traveling just went out the door. And unfortunately, I think that role was just not what I was expecting because of that. Of course, that's no one's fault. Like, I didn't know that. Microsoft didn't know that. Nobody knew that was coming and how long it would last. And so that is why, that is why I only lasted in the role for a year. Like, I really wanted the in-person piece. And, you know, I thought, you know, obviously it was temporary to some extent, but then it kept getting extended, and I was like, I can't keep talking to a black screen on Teams, because people often want to turn on their cameras in multi-day workshops. But I will say I learned a lot from that. Again, learned to be more patient. But honestly, it was really interesting because I think in sales scenarios, customers will often pretend they know something when they don't. Maybe to impress you, or because you're from Microsoft, or to their boss is on the call, right? And they don't want to look bad in front of their boss. So sometimes it's hard to know, like, did they actually understand what he said, or are they just saying that so we keep going? Whereas in training, people come in and they're honest. You're under the premise, you know, you can ask whatever you want. You know, I'm not gonna judge you. This is safe to ask. Like, even if you think it's the stupidest question in the world, I'm not gonna make fun of you for asking it. Like, and I think because I was still very early in my career, I could really resonate with some of the questions people are asking. And I think, you know, it kind of made me realize too, like, people don't necessarily always understand everything. They're just pretending to. And when you go into this training environment, I'm like, people are willing to be more honest and ask for help. And so I thought that was really interesting. And I also liked just, you know, being able to kind of break down concepts and explain stuff and explain how the Microsoft stack fits together, because that was always a confusing piece, especially I taught data engineering and data science courses. And then, you know, it was rewarding in the sense too, where people are happy after that I learned something, and they pass their certification exam and they email you, oh, thank you so much for your help. So like, that was, I think, really nice. But again, doing it over Teams all the time, I was like, I just couldn't do it, to be honest. Like, so that's kind of what led me to leave.
Yeah.